want you to. I'm going to talk about the ball of clay for one.
Okay. When you do, keep it down there.
Well,
Like where your hands are now.
okay.
Okay, we're rolling.
All right. Okay, so I think that you should have a ball of clay about this size in relationship to your hands. Otherwise, when you start pushing the clay around, you start pushing it up and you run out of clay right away. You have no experience of actually pushing the clay around. I think most potters want to throw pots that are a little larger eventually, and keeping in mind that large does not mean good. It's always design. It can be a beautiful little pot and a very ugly large pot. I've wedged this clay. You should always wedge your clay. And we're going to be taking this up into a shape like this and then pushing it back down. So rather than starting with a square and working hard, I'm going to start it off actually pretty much going to be about 3/4 of the way up for the first time. Round it on the bottom. You want to make sure the wheel is sticky, not wet. If there's water on there, it'll slide off. You want to smack it into the middle. You can look at the rings and get some idea, tap it around. And I want to make sure that this is, I don't want to leave some little curves here and then wet this and then find out that the water's gotten underneath there and it doesn't stay. So I'm going to push this down to the wheel head and seal it before I put water on it. Now, as you put water on your clay, I could take this sponge and squeeze all the water that's in there on the clay, and there wouldn't be any more water on there when it all runs off than there is if I just take my hand and run it down there. So that's what I do. Now, I'm going to give you some positions I want you to use to move the clay. It's a little bumpy right now, so I'm going to just take a few of the bumps off. The flat part of my hand here, I'm going to use that to push up against the clay and take some of the bumps off before I start taking it up. You always want to use your body weight. You're always going to be braced down somewhere. So if you can, find your hip bone and slide your elbow, left elbow, in towards your belly button. So when you get ready to push on this clay, your butt on the seat and sliding forward, you use your body weight. If it's here, it can move around. If you can't get it inside your hip when you're here, you have to make sure you really hold it steady. So I'm going to help here, and I'm just going to push in just a little bit and kind of take some of the big bumps off of this. Now, get ready to take this up. I'm going to take it up and down 3 times just to get the clay ready so that it's going to be in good shape when we get ready to open it up and make a piece of pottery with it. I'm going to give you some places I want you to do, part of your hands I want you to use. The left hand, this part of the palm. The right hand, the same part of the palm. The left hand, 7 o'clock. This one is at 1 o'clock. The idea is I'm going to push in here and get an indentation, and I'm going to use my hip and slide that clay up. Just going to have a little overhang like that, and the right hand out here directly opposite is going to keep the clay pulled up against there. So I lean in with my body weight and I push in until I feel the clay move a little bit, then I'm going to turn under. So I turn under like that, and you can see there's just a small overhang. That's all I need. Then I push with my body weight and I'm moving up and I follow that groove, and both hands come up in the same groove. As soon as I run out of clay, I put my left thumb over the top, I hold it, I let it go around a couple of times, and I take my hand away. Now, so we're going to push it up like that 3 times. Now, take it down. I'm going to give you some little key things I want you to use to get your hands in the right position. We're going to push the clay across, and the clay is going to move down into the body of the clay. So take the left thumb and put that joint right in the middle of the clay, and the thumb is at 7 o'clock. Fingers are on the clay, but they're not really digging in or anything. I have my arm against my body, always braced, always hooked down somewhere, no floating elbows. The right hand, you're going to cup it like this, so like a half a fist, and the little finger is going to fit between this joint on the thumb and this joint here. And then I brace, and I'm going to push this across. But I want to show you something about clay that's important. You probably think, well, just because the wheel goes around, that it doesn't make any difference where you are and where you work. But This side of the clay is coming into me. 6 o'clock, it starts moving away from me. I want to use the ability of the clay to slide on itself and the power of the wheel working on this side to push the clay off that way and follow it down. So again, and you can, in the beginning, use this to help you kind of get everything where it needs to be. So bullseye, left thumb in the middle, 7 o'clock. So it's on the side of the clay that's coming into me. Cup your hand, put your little finger between these two joints, and then you're going to brace, and with your shoulders you push across, and you see the clay is going down. I'm pushing over there, and I'm following the clay down. When it gets down to about here, I'm going to hold it, let it go around a couple of times, take my hand away, and then I want to fix this part down here, so that's where this flat part comes in. I help with my right hand and lean in with my hip till I feel it smooth off a little bit, and I move up. Now most of the time it's only going to have a little wobble like that, so you only need to push in that much, but you push in until you, with your body weight, until you feel that it's moved, and also with your eyes you'll see that it smooths off, and then you hold that, move back up to the top. Now there's a little bit of clay at the bottom. This little bit of clay here, I never worry about centering that. I'm just going to take this, I call this cut-off stick, I'm going to scrape that off of there. I don't worry about pushing that back up. So, now, I'm going to take it up again. So once again, left elbow inside the left hip, this part of the hand, and sometimes it's not a bad idea to just take a pen or something and draw a circle there. Same thing on the right hand. 7 o'clock, 1 o'clock, so you know where you want to touch the clay. So I push in with my hip until I get the little indentation, and then I turn this under. I have to be under and moving this up. The clay is going to slide above this. Right hand at 1 o'clock, so I push with my hip, and I keep the clay pulled up against it with my right hand. Now when I get to the top, I kind of run out of clay. I take this part of my palm and I just round this off a little bit, put my left thumb on first, my right thumb over the top, and take it away. Push this in a little bit more. Get this going faster. Now, I'm going to take it down again. So, to kind of help me remember where it's supposed to be, the bullseye, left thumb in the middle, back of the thumb at 7 o'clock, arms into your side, not inside your hip, but into your side. The right hand is cupped like this. Little finger goes between these two joints on the thumb, and I lean, push the clay over there, and I stay behind it, and I follow it down to about here. Don't push it down to where it's flat. Once I get to here, elbow inside the hip, flat part, I want to flatten it off, so I'm using this part here. Lean in slowly till I see that it smooths out, and I move back up to the top, and I kind of leave it in this haystack shape. Now, I usually do this 3 times, but if the clay isn't in good shape, I might do it 4 or 5 times. But the key thing is this is getting the clay in condition, so when I get ready to open it up and make a pot, that the clay is going to be kind of working smoothly in the way I want it to go. I'm going to take it back up. 7 o'clock, 1 o'clock, elbow inside the hip, so use your body weight. I'm going to push in until I feel the clay move a little bit. I turn under just a little, and now I push this, and you can see the little groove there. I just keep that groove going, and I'm kind of moving up and in, and as soon as I get to the top here where I'm sort of out of clay, this part of my hand pushes against the clay and rounds off the top and let it go around. Now, there's something really, really important that you need to do. Every time, from the moment you put this clay on the wheel until you take the pot off the wheel, every time you take your hand away from the clay, you're going to hold it, let it go around with whatever pressure it takes to move it, relax, let it go around about 3 times, and take your hand away. I want to show you something now. This looks pretty good, doesn't it? But if I take my hand away too fast, then I'm going to have a problem. And after you've been throwing a while, you could catch up with this and it won't be a problem, but you don't want to spend most of your time fixing stuff. So let me take this back up. So I want to show you that last step again. So I got my bullseye, left joint from the left thumb in the middle. This little curve that you see here, that matches this, and this is the curve that I want to keep. I don't want it to be flat. I want it to have a little curve. Bullseye, right hand cupped, little finger between these two. Lean across and follow it down. This is the third time down. It's getting a little dry, so I want to get some water on here. Third time down, I keep pushing, and as I do that, more of the hand will touch the clay. But you're probably going to have to get back behind the clay a little bit. Up here, you're leaning across down here, you still have to stay behind the clay. You don't want to flatten off the top. So push across, staying at 7 o'clock. Then when I get down to here and I want to flatten this out, I use this part of my hand. Anytime you want to flatten the clay from the side, use that part of your hand. Help with both hands, always working together. Come back up around the top, hold it, let it go around, stop the pressure on it, let it relax, let it go around. Now I'm ready to start the next step. Push it up and down 3 times. The clay is smooth, looking smooth, so that's fine. Got another step here now. It's probably about altogether from the time you start centering until you're doing the knuckle pass and finger passes, there's probably about 13, 14 things you need to remember. Now, once again, I want you to do a little bullseye thing in the middle. The joint from the left thumb goes right over that, and again, the thumb is going back towards 7 o'clock. Now, if I had a stick that was shaped like my thumb, I could make this move on the clay with that. The thumb is simply a tool that I use to move the clay. The clay is being moved with my fist and sliding my arm on my leg. So, this joint in the middle, what's going to happen is I'm going to push down like this, and probably when I finish, my thumb is going to be, the tip of my thumb will be in the middle, but I'm going to start with the joint in the middle. Fist on top of that. You want control here, and if you start throwing larger amounts of clay, this is how you move 25 pounds of clay around and get it centered. So I'm braced now, my arms are down on my legs. Get your nose over the top of that clay.
Okay, hold on. I just want to make this another section.